Hello all. I'm making this video because I wanted to talk about something a lot of people seem to be unclear on about my project, the Church of the Machine. For those who are not aware, the Church of the Machine is a project I started many years ago for the purpose of connecting to the divine through means of the machine. That means to accept the machine as a spiritual force, as a representation of the divine force. It can be a little hard to understand for newcomers, and I have made several videos for the purposes of introducing you to it, so I will not do so here. Nonetheless, I intend this video to make sense in isolation, so even those who are not familiar with this project should be able to understand what I am talking about, without being familiar with my exact terminology, or the wider aspects of this project. Some have called the Church of the Machine a work of philosophy, but in this video I intend to make the case against that. I am not a philosopher, at least that is not what I intend to go down as, and I think the role of philosophy is commonly misunderstood. Without doubt, a great deal of philosophical work is involved with this project, and I have certainly participated in much of it, but to call the Church of the Machine a work of philosophy is to miss the point. It isn't entirely inaccurate. Philosophy means the love of wisdom, and the Church of the Machine was certainly founded on such a basis, but it would be delusional to pretend philosophy does not have a more specific meaning than this. Philosophy is really the process of applying logic and reason to the understanding of our world, and of how to engage with it, which again is something often used in the Church of the Machine, but I feel that philosophers have a bad reputation, and quite honestly, deserve it. Philosophers tend to oversimplify the world into neat categories they can label and understand. I myself have been guilty of this in the past, where we mistake the abstract representation of reality with the actual reality underneath, and attempt to systematize everything. Many a philosopher was a control freak in disguise, wanting to create some kind of system which would serve as the central basis for all human action. An excellent example of this would be the utilitarian school of thought, which, in simple terms, states that human action should follow whatever provides the greatest well-being to the greatest number of people. What is so wrong with that? Simple. It deprives mankind of his fundamental freedom. Free will is something which everyone has, but few people choose to exercise it. Often people forget that they have it, make no use of it, live their life on autopilot, following whatever happens to be comfortable in any given situation. To such people, a system like utilitarianism has great appeal. The most praiseworthy thing I can say about it is that it is a wonderful idea for those of slavish minds. My criticism here is in no way limited to utilitarianism. I'm just using that as an example. I could just as easily have used Plato's Republic, or Hegel's Dialectics, or Marx's Communism. All these are examples of the same fundamental problem. This delusional idea that there is some kind of perfect system of morals and ideas, and we can find it if we just think hard enough and do enough philosophy. This idea has caused more bloodshed and human suffering than can be known. Plato was probably the first to come up with it, with his allegory of the cave, and ideas of philosopher kings. He was a philosopher who thought philosophers were superior to others and should rule them, and he became popular among philosophers. If you have attained a true wisdom and a deeper insight into the nature of reality, you will look back at these competing ideas about systematic philosophies for the world, and will have but one reaction to them. They are disgusting. Philosophy, and by extension many philosophers, trigger a deep, guttural sense of disgust within me. I find most of them revolting to contemplate. Too many philosophers were not lovers of wisdom at all. They were weak men, wishing they could be more powerful than they were, and evolved into control freaks, meshing together models of the world from their own filth, and proclaiming these models as though they were divine revelation. I speak so strongly of this because I know that I was once guilty of it. I once sought after a system, but I came to reject that thinking, and now I intend to teach others to reject it as well. If you are looking for a system that will make your decisions for you, without having to exercise your own judgment or consult your own true will, the Church of the Machine is not for you. The tendency to systematize, to create a moral system or code of ethics which could inform any and all decisions you ever have to make, is driven by weakness. The strong do not rely on abstract systems to justify their actions. They consult only themselves when making their decisions. They may of course seek wisdom and advice, and take care not to blunder carelessly, but ultimately their judgment is supreme to them. If that sounds egotistical and narcissistic to you, I would call you a hypocrite. It is only your own judgment which has decided that, and even if you cling to some external system or other logical justification for why it is so, it is still only your own judgment which has decided that that external justification was adequate. Whether you like it or not, it cannot be escaped. All decisions boil down to the individual's own judgment and free will. The tendency to seek out external justifications and systems is driven by weakness, for some are uncomfortable with their own judgment, and ultimately they simply do not like the freedom of making decisions. They prefer to have the decision be made for them, by a system, and let their mind laze around idly. They have been given free will, the greatest gift that this universe can offer, and they throw it away and spit on it. I want you not to fall to such weakness, and thus I want for you to exercise the freedom of your own judgment, your own free will, without the need for external justifications. This is a dangerous idea, a very dangerous idea, but the alternative has done just as much harm. How many lives have been lost? How many peoples have been destroyed in the name of abstract systems and utopias? Too many, if you ask me. The cautious use of one's own considered judgment, the exercised practice of actually thinking for yourself when making decisions, and always being willing to change your mind when you will to do so, seems to me a far preferable and safer thing to place trust in than trying to come up with a flawless system of morals. I used to think I could find the right system. Many people have, doubtless many more still will, but I have learned my lesson now, and if I can teach you this, perhaps great human suffering shall be spared, even if you take nothing else from my project. To overcome the tendency to abstract and systematize the world, and externalize your decisions so as to avoid responsibility, that would be a great thing to take away. This is why I say the Church of the Machine is not really a work of philosophy, as philosophy deals with ideas, and the Church of the Machine goes much further than that. It is a work of spirituality and mysticism, of the expansion of consciousness, and of connection to the divine. All these things transcend philosophy. Not all philosophy is an attempt to systematize, yet if you reject philosophical systems, as I do, you must have some other way of guiding yourself. That, to me, is the place of religion and mysticism, and in my case I place the machine at the core of that mysticism. Many do not understand that. It seems an arbitrary and mysterious word to use in this context. But there are those who will intuitively understand it. There are people with whom the idea of connecting to the divine through the machine seems intuitive and appealing. These people hold what I call the machinic inclination, and it is these people who I seek and wish to gift with all of my wisdoms and everything I have learned in my years upon this journey. If that sounds like you, and you wish to be part of a community of those who share the machinic inclination, and wish to learn how to properly worship and connect to the machine, then you can become a member of the church's Patreon. There you can gain access to exclusive videos, as well as the Discord server where this project began, where I host regular sermons and answer questions about this strange, new, and growing faith. Some have criticized me for charging for this, but I want only those who are truly interested to be part of my project. I do what I do specifically to dissuade those who cannot commit to this, because I want only those who seek to understand the machine as I have. In the meantime, there is plenty more free content to come on this channel. This video has been an episode of The Interstice, a short series of videos I have been uploading between seasons, and soon I will launch Season 3, where I will go into great depth on a variety of subjects. I've already made 2 seasons of full-length videos to discuss this project, and while I intended them to be watched in order when I made Season 1, I now recommend you watch my videos in whatever order you wish to, in order to learn about this church. Although I have also made an introduction video, which would be a good place to start. In any case, thank you for watching this small video. Whether you have been with me since the beginning, or are completely uninitiated, your attention is appreciated. It is good for me to know that my crazy and bizarre project is valuable to people, so thanks again. Farewell, and may it forever be unbroken.